Admiral, Yonko, Zoro, Sanji. Long ago, all agendas lived in peace and harmony. Well, that was until them Zoro niggas attacked. Yeah, they fucked the whole shit up. But only Oda, the writer of this story, master of the 4 elements that make up power scaling, could really save the fandom from stupidity. But when we needed him most, he vanished. That's basically agenda piece summed up. He will give us a good cliffhanger that allows people to create agendas. He'll come back and most likely destroy them. But if you're lucky, he may actually follow through with your agenda that you've probably been plotting for months and months on end and give you a reward allowing you to clown niggas on the timeline. But 90% of the time, he kind of just does destroy agendas, unless you're Luffy or Shanks. But that's really about it. Now, for today's episode of Agenda Piece, I'm going to get into the Admirals. Now, prior to this chapter, I would have actually said that Admiral Agenda is probably the strongest right now. Considering their fan base was the most loyal. I say was because, I mean, just look on the screen. I mean, yeah. One of their big boy leaders had to come out and say, I'm dropping Agenda Piece. Chapter 1109 really did destroy the fanbase. Before you would view Admiral fans as an army, now you view them as every other agenda. Before we even get into the fandom, we need to actually get into why the Admiral agenda was so strong and why it still could be strong, but, well, I mean, most of their fans are now trying to cop out like 9% of the Admirals only keeping 2, which makes no sense. But that's the great thing about Agenda Piece. If you don't want something that's in your agenda, you can just crop it out. People will bring it up, but you can obviously just say, well, I don't care, and still continue to push your agenda. But obviously, that'll always be there. But anyway, it's enough dilly-dallying. Let's actually get into Agenda Piece. If you don't know what Agenda Piece is, I'm going to give you a quick rundown. It's very simple. If you like a character, or if you like a group of characters, what you can do is you can push their agenda. Now, in my eyes, an agenda is you hyping up a character past their limits, and basically ignoring context around certain things to hype up that character. Instance, if I was in the Frankie agenda, I would say that Frankie could box Sand because he's able to shoot lasers through his head. In actuality, Saturn actually just healed from it and in his new form would probably box up Frankie. But because it's an agenda, I'm going to ignore that and I'm going to hype up Frankie to that level and continuously bring up the fact that he was able to shoot a laser through his head, meaning he could probably box him and beat him. Maybe bring up points like, oh, Saturn can't heal forever. Even though Luffy quite literally states, you just don't go down. But that's basically Agenda Piece. So let's get into the Admiral agenda. The Admiral agenda mainly stems from Akainu or Sakazuki, whichever one you want to call him. So basically, Oda has made 2 comments of Sakazuki on like how he views him. And I'm not going to lie, in those 2 comments, he basically just glazed him to high hell. The first statement is he will cherish Sakazuki because he likes the actor a lot, so he will cherish him. And that's why his fans call him the cherished one. And the second one is if Akainu was to go out and find the One Piece, he would do it in a year. Now, after hearing those 2 comments, you could obviously see why every Admiral fan thinks he's like the strongest character ever. He's also made like another statement about Akainu being the most dominant or whatever, like Admiral or Fleet Admiral there's ever been. I want to put it up on screen right now, but that's basically the other glazed comment he's given about him. Now, if you twist his statement, you're able to basically use this to put him above Sengoku, and Sengoku was someone that Roger was actually just calling out to fight. So, I mean, look, if you want to look at it that way, that means that Akainu could just basically box with Roger. And then this is where the Admiral glaze does come in, and which is why you will see tier lists with Green Ball for some reason being above Roger. Now you may ask, how does this stem to people like Kuzan, Kizaru, Green Ball, and Fujitora? Because, well, it's only Akainu that's getting the glaze. Well, let's put it like this. Kuzan fought Akainu for 10 days and basically lost an extra fight against him, which means every Akainu statement kinda does apply to Kuzan in some way, which essentially means there's automatically 2 people on the Admiral side that can be glazed to high hell. Next is Kizaru, and well, he has a cop out for like every single situation he's been in, plus he is an OG Admiral. Then you have Fujitora and Green Ball. Most Admiral fans probably just don't bat an eyelid at those 2 and just like be like, oh yeah, they're strong, but they're not strong compared to the OG 3. But then you have special glazers that say, yeah, they're really, really strong. It's just that every situation they've been in, it's been a bad one. And I'm not going to sit here and say every situation they've been in has been good. I'm not going to lie, they've been in some pretty shitty situations. But the one time he was able to see Green Ball go all out, he was stopped by Oda's golden child, Shanks. And this is one thing for Agenda Piece. I want everybody to know this. Your opponent is Shanks and Oda is writing the story. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you, just give it up for a minute. Unless you're maybe Mihawk, Blackbeard or Luffy. Another thing Admiral fans do say a lot, and something that we do actually have to take into consideration when scaling the Admirals, every single time we see them fight, they can't really go all out because they're on government-owned islands, which is why the one time you was able to see an Admiral go all out, which was when he was on Wano, a non-government funded island, kind of disappointing because like we got Oda's golden child to stop him. Now me just saying that, I could spawn another agenda just out of thin air saying that the Admirals are so strong that you have to get Oda's golden child, Shanks, to stop them if they're able to go all out on a government funded island. And you can then just say, oh yeah, Marineford, Shanks had to pull up and use his clout to actually just stop the whole war. Like, do you see how many cop-outs Admiral Piece actually just has? Like, it's actually insane, and I think that is why their fans, like, they roll so deep, and which is why they just copy what each other saying, they're able to get away with it. If you ask every Admiral fan, they will have the exact same stance on the story as each other. If you were to ask like a Zoro fan how he views the story, he will have a very different opinion to another Zoro fan. Or if you ask a Sanji fan, he may have a very different opinion to another Sanji fan. Which is why I actually find the Admiral fans the funniest, and why I actually do respect them the most. Well, did, because I mean, after this chapter, yeah, kind of half of them folded. But pre this latest chapter, they actually just rolled as an army, and which is why they were probably I'd say the best fandom, like agenda wise, in the whole of Agenda Piece. They all had Sakazuki top 1, they all had Kuzan top 2, and they all had the other admirals following right behind them. In terms of how like Admiral Piece is viewed by the whole fandom, a lot of people kind of do respect it, but well, there's a certain community that doesn't. Yonko fans, they do have their reasons, although I don't really agree with their reasons. They do have their reasons. And that is why they mostly fight all the time, because Admiral fans believe the Admirals are on the Yonko's level, or possibly even above, while the Yonko fans believe that the Yonkos will be able to one-shot every Admiral. But that topic will be saved for Yonko Piece. Anyway, let's give a little recap on Admiral Piece. Number 1, they had the best fandom. Remember, I say had. They don't anymore, because most of them folded. Number 2, they have one of the most glazed characters in the whole entire story. Because one of their other members fought him to an extreme death fight, you're able to then glaze him as well, putting that basically that whole group on that level. Number 3, they have the most cop-outs in the story. I'm not gonna lie to you, Yonkos don't have the exact same cop-outs as Admirals do. There is no logical cop-out to why Kaido couldn't kill Kinemon, but there is a cop-out to why, well, Green Bull couldn't beat up the Revs, or a cop-out to why Akainu just didn't turn the whole of Marineford into magma, or Kizaru didn't light the whole place up, or Kuzan didn't just freeze the whole entire thing over. They have many excuses that have weight to them, so it's like, you can't really bash them 100%, but you can call them bums here and there, especially Green Bull. Or another point I should bring up for the excuses for why they can't go all out is the fact that a lot of their devil fruits are AoE based, so if they want to go all out, they basically have to destroy the whole place, but they can't do that. Green Bull has to turn the whole place into a forest. Well, as we've seen in the Marizwa part of the story, he can't do that. If Kuzan really wants to use his devil fruit at max power, he needs to be able to let off blizzards everywhere. If Akainu wants to use the full extent of his devil fruit, he needs to set the place alight. Lastly, Fujitora, who I think does have the most destructive devil fruit there is behind Whitebeard, he quite literally may need a country empty for him to really go all out, because Fujitora isn't the type to hurt innocent people. On top of that, his fruit is crazily AoE based. I have this thing where I say if Fujitora really wants to go all out, he'll just drop the moon on the earth. And I know it sounds crazy, and I know it may strain his body a lot. I don't like, maybe it could, I don't know, but if he really wanted to, he could drop like massive meteors that can wipe out entire countries, even just continents. And that is why the Admiral agenda does have a lot of cop-outs to it. I should just say excuses or reasons to why they really can't go all out, but yeah. So I plan to close the video off there, but yeah. So new cope came out. See, this is why I love the Admiral agenda so much, because every single last one of them was trying to push for that Kizaru was the one Luffy was referring to. But, well, I mean, if you look at the panel, it's easy to tell that it's Saturn, but, I mean, it's Admiral stance. Nothing is simple with them. And that's what I've said many times before. I find them the most interesting and probably my favourite fandom and probably the funniest. The shit they come out with, I'm just going to throw it up on screen. Like, the shit Admiral fans come up with is second to none. And that's going to be the end of this agenda piece talk. If you want me to cover other agendas like the Yonko agenda, the Zoro agenda, the Sanji agenda, the Boa agenda, the Rev agenda, all these other agendas, just say I may cover a certain agenda next. The Yonko agenda. But if you like the video, like, comment, share. I'm trying to reach like 500 subscribers by the end of the year, so I'll see you guys next time.